You are now ready to train your customer. You want to probably review with your customer all the parts of the instrument. This is the drip mat. This is the stage handles, which moves the stage. This is the stage fixture, where the adapters go, and your samples that you're going to core. This is your destination carousel. This is your sample rack. This is the LN2 cap, and then this is the port where you pour in your LN2. And this is your probe nest that contains the probes. In the back of the instrument is where you plug it in and the on-off button is. The main screen, and this is the coring head and the protective guard. You want to remember to tell your customer that there are 3 positions for the coring head. This is the front stage position, or as we say, the coring position. Halfway between the coring position and the dispense carousel is the load position. This is where you load and unload the coring probe. The third position is the dispense area. This is where you dispense your frozen cores into your tubes located in the destination carousel. This is the e-stop. This is the emergency stop button. This part is called the stage of the instrument. We are now going to go over the software that is on the instrument. As you can see in the lower left-hand corner, there are 3 circles. We've already, through the installation, we have learned that the gearbox with the 2 little gears that's in the middle is basically all the settings. The button all the way to the left with the 3 lines is the menu protocol button. If you select that, those are preset protocols. The instrument has the ability to hold up to 20 different sets of protocols. This allows the customer, if they are working with different material and they are taking different cores, they can pre-select and set a protocol that they can then store in the library. We call this the library of protocols. When you're ready to select a certain protocol to run, all you do is select it, and now the protocol is loaded and ready to go. We want to go to the gear button, which is in the middle. That's where all the settings are. We're now going to go over what all the tabs mean and what you can do within each tab. Once this instrument has been installed, the customer does not have to worry about the sensors button. That's really more for technical service and for the manufacturer and for installation. So you don't have to worry about doing anything with that button. The next button is the Z-axis. The Z-axis button is the one that's going to control where you set your speeds, your depths, set your positions, and set your protocols. So, the first thing that we are going to teach you is that when you enable the power motor button, that allows the customer to have complete control over moving the spindle manually. The first thing that you want to do when you're going to set a position for coring is you always want to go home. When you go home, you want to always hit the update button because your position should say 0. When you're home and the spindle is all the way at the top, that's 0. As the spindle moves downward, it goes all the way down to 99, which brings the spindle all the way to the bottom, just above the sample fixture. When we move the spindle downward, we call that steps, which you will see in this particular menu where it says steps. So when this indicates the number 20, that means that the instrument is set for the spindle to move down 20 steps. I will show you that. The speed. When you're running the instrument, you always want to run it in the dispense mode. You don't want to run it in the coring Z or the fast. And you don't have to worry about those. Now, direction, up, down. Direction up, down indicates your spindle movement. Is your spindle moving downward or upward? Well, we're going to move the spindle down. So we select down, and now we're going to jog. If we press the jog button once, we want to hear that the spindle moves all the way and then stops. We then want to check the update button, and the update button should show you that the position of the spindle now is 20 because I programmed it to move 20 steps. If I jog it again, it should move another 20 steps, so I should be at a 40 millimeter location. Go back to your update button, and I'm at 40. We're going to press it one more time. You're going to press the update button, and now we're at 60. You're going to use this methodology in order to set your coring depths into your sample tubes. I'm now going to show you how to do that. We're going to then tighten up our sample fixture one more time. I'm going to change the steps to 10. I'm going to jog down 10 steps, and I'm going to check the update button, which shows that I am at 90. Now, if I loosen up the sample fixture one more time to check, I cannot move my tube, which tells me that my coring probe has hit the bottom of the tube and it cannot move. You do not want to core all the way to the bottom of the tube. I use this as a reference point so that I know with a 2 ml tube, you do not want to go past 90. But I still want a little bit of room. So what I want to do is now jog up about 2 or 3 millimeters. So I'm going to change the 10 to 3. I'm now going to go up. I'm now going to hit jog. And I should be at 87. And I am. I'm going to tighten up my sample, and right now it's still tight, so I'm going to jog it up 2 more. And as you can see, I can move it up just a little bit. So that tells me I'm in the right spot to core. Update again. That tells me I'm at 84 millimeters. So now that's my coring depth. That's how far I want to core into my 2 ml tube. So now I'm going to set that position. I'm going to go to positions, and where it says coring depth, I'm going to hit set. I'm going to verify that yes, it is at 45 millimeters. I'm going to go back to the move position. I'm going to set this back to 20. I'm going to hit home one more time. I'm going to verify that I'm at 0 for home. I'm going to make sure that I put my spindle to the down position, and we're now going to set the next depth. So the next depth that we are going to do is we are going to do the load position. Now, the load position will depend on how comfortable you are getting the spindle in and out. I typically like to load and unload at 30 millimeters. So what you're going to do is you are going to take the spindle out. We know we're home. We know we are at 0. So I know that I like to load at 30. So I am just going to add to my steps 30. I know I'm home. I'm going to go ahead and say jog. I'm going to check my update, and it says 30. Now, how do I know that I'm at 30, even though it has told me? A second way to check and to verify that you are at 30 is if you look at the spindle collar, the top of the spindle collar, it should lie perpendicular and almost in a straight line to the bottom of the spindle guard. That's how I know it's a double check that my spindle is truly at 30. So now I'm going to set my load position at 30, because in the load position with my hands, it's very easy to insert the probe and insert and take it out. So now I'm going to go back to my positions where it says load depth. You're going to set the 30 and verify that it changed to 30. Now, the last thing that you are going to do is you're going to set the dispense depth. You're going to take an empty tube. You're going to put it back into the destination carousel. You are going to take your coring probe in the load position, reinsert the probe. You then are going to take your coring head and you're going to move it over the destination carousel, and you are going to line up your coring probe over the tube that you intend to deposit the core into. Once again, I'm going to move. I'm going to go home. I'm going to verify that it's at 0. Now, I'm going to move it so that the spindle and the bottom of the coring probe are right above the edge of the tube. The edge of the tube is going to act as a cutting material between the core, the tip of the push rod, and the rim of your tube. Once the spindle is home and at 0, I am then going to, you can keep your steps at 30 or you can change it back to 10 or 20, whatever you're most comfortable with. We will do 30. I'm going to jog down. Make sure that it goes all the way down and it stops. And I'm going to jog down again. Now, verify again. And it is at 60. But as you can see, the probe is actually inside the tube. That's okay, but you will have a difficult time when you go to cut it. You want to make sure that it's right at the rim. So I'm actually going to jog it up. Three. And as you can see, I can easily take the tube, and if you verify, the tip of the coring probe hits just the rim. That is where you want to have your dispense depth, right at the tip of the tube. Not on top of it so you can't move it, but you want to be able to swing it back and forth so that you can use the tip of the push rod to use against the side of the tube to cut off the core. We're going to update once more. We are at a 57 millimeter length. We are going to go to our positions where it says dispense depth. We're going to set that and verify that it is at 57 millimeters. Now that we have gone through and I've shown you how to set the depths, we're going to talk about the speeds. So from the menu, you're going to select speeds. We're going to talk about the coring Z, the fast speed, and the dispense speed. You typically don't have to change the fast speed or the dispense speed. Those are preset values that really you don't need to change. As long as you keep them at the numbers that they're at, you're good. The speed that you are going to change is the coring Z speed. For recommendations, if you're going to be doing your biofluids, feces, you want to core at a speed of 5. If you're going to be doing any kind of tissue, you want to core at 10. We don't recommend going any higher than these speeds because we've done lengthy studies on all types of tissues and all types of biofluids, and we have come to the conclusion that slower is better. You get better cores, and therefore those are the speeds for recommendation. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to set a protocol. In the beginning, I told you that in the menu bar, you can hold up to 20 different types of protocols. So, if you want to set a protocol, you're going to go to the protocol section. Here, you're going to add a new protocol. The menu screen comes up with a keyboard. You're going to backspace. And now you're going to type in whatever you want to call your protocol. So for now, I'm going to call it training. And you're going to select OK. Once you have selected your name, training comes up. And now what you're going to do is you can go back to your main menu of the move, and you're going to set your depths for the protocol that you're going to be running. As you set your depths and as you set your speeds, it will automatically update to the protocol that you are currently working under. So once those are set, go back to the protocols, Verify that you have the correct depth set that you're going to use, the correct speed that you're going to use, and then once you're done, you're going to close, and then that will save. When you go back under the menu bar, which is the bar with all the lines, you will see training has now been added to your list of protocols. When you select it, you go back to your settings. The settings that you selected under that new protocol name will be there. Now, if for instance you want to get rid of a protocol because you filled up all 20 spaces, you can delete one and then add one. To delete a protocol, all you have to do is select delete protocol. It will ask you, do you want to delete? You confirm OK, you close, you go back to your main menu, and the protocol is deleted. Now I'm going to show you how to properly fill your CXT353 with the LN2. So you're going to remove the cap from the LN2 port. You're going to take the hose that's connected to an LN2 tank. You're going to come to the main screen, and what you're going to watch is what's called the reservoir fill. You will see it is at 0%. As you fill your tank, it will go up in increments of 25. So 25, 50, 75, 100. However, when you're first starting it out and your instrument is at room temperature, you only want to fill it up to 50%. What you want to do is make sure that the instrument, as it's filled, acclimates to the temperature, and then you want to let that fill volume go down to 25%. So let's start by filling it up to 50%, and let's watch the reservoir fill screen. The other thing that you want to do is when you are filling up the tank with LN2, you want to do it very slowly. And when you are using a hose, you never want to put it in at the bottom of the tank because the tank can crack. You always want to make sure that it is above the level of the cap, but inside enough that you don't get sprayed yourself with liquid nitrogen. So you want to turn on the tank, let the air out, and then slowly fill. As you start to fill up your tank, you will see that the temperature will start to drop. Once it's at the 50%, you want to turn it off. Put your LN2 cap back on the porthole, and now let the instrument acclimate and watch for the the percent filled to drop to 25%. Now, if you don't have an LN2 tank with a hose, there's an alternative way to fill your tank. You can get a Dewar, much like what I have here. The Dewar comes with a spout. You can take off the top, screw in the spout, fill it up with liquid nitrogen, and then pour it in through the spout. Your instrument shall go from room temperature to -80 approximately within 15 minutes. The amount of which it drops will depend on your lab temperature and humidity. So if your lab is hot and your humidity is pretty high, the LN2 is going to evaporate quickly. So you need to keep that in mind. If your lab is much colder and your humidity is lower, then the evaporation rate of the LN2 will be a lot slower, so it will stay cooler longer. When it gets down to 25% and you go to fill it up again, my recommended amount to fill it up would be between 50% and 75%. If you're trying to keep your temperature between -80 and -100, then I suggest you fill it back up to 50% and let it go all the way down to 25% before you keep filling again. So you want to fill up to 50, let it go down to 25, fill it back up to 50. Once you have your working temperature, you could get anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half of working time without a refill. But then again, it depends on the temperature of your lab and the amount of humidity that's in the lab.